Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Maria Salvage podcast. I'm your host, Maria Salvage, and today we have two special guests. We have Rhonda Elliott, my co-host. So, welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm privileged. It's great to see you again.
I'm super excited that you're here. Can you tell people about your podcast before I introduce Tom?
Sure. Spirit Sessions: A View of the Light was created about 9 years ago, and this is our ninth season. And we just interview everybody from people who talk about UFOs to Bigfoot to healers of all different modalities. And we just love giving people the different news, the good news, the view of the light. And
Yeah.
so we like to spread that, whatever your view of the light is, we like to spread it around because there's so much more to this world than what's on TSN and no TSN. Yeah, CNN, TSN, and all the other networks. Bad news all the time, all the time. We like to give you the good news, the alternative news, those stuff that lifts your heart and lifts your light.
Oh, thank you. And I'm going to have links to Rhonda's podcast. So if you guys feel drawn to, go give her a follow and check out her guests.
Thanks.
And I've been on her podcast and she's amazing. And she has a bunch of other women that co-host with her, all incredible, incredible people. So thank you, Rhonda, for co-hosting today. And today our special guest all the way from the UK is Tom Barrow. So welcome, Tom.
Woohoo.
Hey guys, how's it going? You okay?
Yeah,
We are
awesome.
good. So I'm going to read a little bit about Tom before we get started. So Tom Barrow is the producer and host of Inspector Paranormal podcast. And in 2025, last year, your podcast was the finalist in the Independent Podcast Awards. So congratulations.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you,
And
thank
I
exciting.
you.
looked it up. You are in the top 3%
That's awesome.
of podcasts.
Wow, even I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
that's awesome.
If you didn't know, now you know. So I'm assuming
Yes.
it's paranormal, but it's in the top 3%. It says in the global rank, top 3% of podcasts.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Wow, wow. I wish I had the money, but I wish I had Joe Rogan's money, but yeah, it's good to know I'm up there in some in a good percentage.
I think it's amazing. That means a lot of people are super passionate about your podcast and are tuning in each week, which I love. Okay, so Inspector Paranormal shines a light deep into the dark corners of the world of the unexplained and investigates some very strange and ghostly phenomena. Each episode features the firsthand spoken testimonies from real life witnesses who've experienced some baffling and terrifying encounters. I will say, when I listen to this at night, it is a little bit scary. Just
Oh.
gotta say that. In each episode, Tom takes on a brand new case and is joined by a team of experts who will put their best historical, spiritual, and skeptical minds forward to try and figure out what happens. So within his team, he has Jackie Dennison from Rescue Mediums, who is an internationally world-renowned medium, spiritual medium, psychic. She's absolutely amazing. You have Tom, is it Tom Pache? Pache?
Oh, Page.
Heesh. Thank you.
It's German. It's German.
Thank
So it's like
thank you for
it's a but
correcting me.
people call him Peach sometimes as well, but he's
I
Page.
almost said that. And I'm like, let's say it right. He's the skeptic. And I'm
That's
gonna
right.
say in season two, I started to become a Tom, a little bit of a Tom. I need to get rid of the fear because I was so freaked out with some of the sounds. And then you have Eli, is it Lisette?
Lyset, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Lysette, and he's the resident historian.
That's correct. Yeah, yes. So
Yes.
he kind of digs around and looks into all the mysteries around all our sort of locations or stories that people have.
I'm gonna say this too, because of Eli, with many of the episodes I listened to, was like, you should go Google it. You should go. Do you know how much Googling I did? Because I was like, what's he talking about? Now I gotta go look. What do these buildings actually look like? So I did a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
that. So you could we'll let Eli know. Like I was getting excited about history. And then just so you guys know, for those that are watching or listening, they have a website, inspectorparanormal.com. I'm gonna have your link tree because I'll have all of their details. They're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, Facebook, and Apple Podcasts, and anywhere podcasts are available.
That's
So
right. Yeah,
thank you.
everywhere.
I love it. I wanted to actually start off because I love this episode, and I think it's the Halloween 2025 last year, and it's with your friend Steve, the police officer.
Oh, okay, okay.
He
Oh,
has a lot of stories because he's sharing stories, but then he talks about one story. Well, actually, a couple of stories were super fascinating, but there's a story where there's like a man in the house, or they think there's a man in the house, and then they bring the police dog, but now the police dog's too scared to go in.
Yeah, yeah. It was a real mystery that he wasn't there to witness it himself because he was doing something else, but he heard
Yeah,
from one of his police officer friends who was on duty that night, and essentially they caught it all on body camera as well because most police officers these days have body cameras, but obviously because he's an active police officer as well, his identity is sort of withdrawn. So his real name is not Steve. It's
that's
something else that
fine.
I can't reveal. So, but obviously, because of that, his it would be great to see that footage because you would see everything. But because it might be for another day until maybe he comes out of the shadows, maybe to kind of reveal his identity. But yeah, it's with police officers, you you don't think they're gonna sort of encounter things like that because they've to be fair, they've got a lot more things to be scared of than ghosts. They've got robberies,
Yeah,
drunken people, and sometimes they're trying to protect people as well. So ghosts are kind of on their far from what's on their mind, but
yeah.
when these things happen, it's very, very compelling and scary at the same time.
Like, how'd you find out about that story? Were you like, "Hey, Steve, I need stories for my paranormal," or did you guys kind of like go out for a beer and he's like, "Guess what? You're not gonna believe this happened." Like,
Um,
how does this story come to life?
he was one of the first people who actually contacted me. He was a fan of the show, and he basically messaged me on Instagram and said, "Would I've got a story?" And then instantly you're like, would you be interested in telling it? And he's like, can you change my voice? And I'm like, not really, because it kind of
Yeah.
ruins the storytelling aspects of the podcast. But he was really keen, but obviously we one of the stipulations was we had to sort of hide his real name. But yeah, he just kind of approached me, and I think it's a very sort of compelling story, and the fact is as well, like there could be so many ghost stories because obviously, if it's not a criminal
Yeah.
incident, then it's not reported. So,
Yeah.
so for example, if the people have lovers' tiffs or arguments and nothing criminal happens, but the police are called out, let's say, oh, we're not required anymore. It's not recorded or it's not logged down. So, ghost stories, there could be many, many ghost stories in the systems of the UK police databases, but there's not one way to sort of finding them all out, but because then it doesn't say ghost, I
there's
encountered a
no X
ghost.
Files.
There's no X-Files, unfortunately, but yeah, it would be amazing if there was. I was like imagining them going down into a basement and like more like like a British Mordred Scully, but yeah, it's they have to record everything and report everything, but
Yeah.
one day we might sort of someone might draw the dots and sort of say all this evidence where all this ghost evidence is and stuff, but people must experience stuff on the day-to-day basis, but they don't know
Who
who to
else to
report
call?
it. Exactly, the
Who do you
Ghostbusters.
call?
Exactly.
Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Ghostbusters. Oh my goodness. I think that was interesting because I thought like the police dog, right? Like they're not supposed to be scared of anything, but within the story,
Yeah.
like the dog wouldn't go.
Yeah. When a police dog, like a big German Shepherd or Alsatian,
Yeah.
doesn't want to go into a property, you're like, I am definitely not going in there. So yeah, it was. But I think the story was great because it it creates that debate where you're trying to have that you're trying to realize what the rationale could be behind it. Could it be a squatter who's hiding in the attic? Could it be, as Jackie said, one of those Christmas light shows that kind of projects things
Yeah.
onto walls and stuff like that? it could be anything. It could be the light reflecting from a curtain. Anything goes on this story, and I think that's what's great because it could be a ghost, but it could be this or that, but it creates that sort of healthy debate, really.
Yeah,
It
I
was
find that.
creepy, that's for sure. Something creeping in the shadows back and forth in front of your window would be creepy.
Mm,
Like you see it
totally.
once, you might dismiss it. You keep seeing it. You're going, I'm seeing that with my eyes. And then everything else. And then you have other people corroborating what you're seeing is pretty cool. But
Yeah, it's like there's like maybe I don't know how many police officers were there on the case, but maybe two units were there. So it's not just one person, it's those police officers and it's also the witness as well. And they've all seen the same thing. So I know like our skeptic Tom Page would say, oh, it's hallucinations from mold or EMP or whatever. But I think you're all not going to experience the same thing if that is the case. That so it's good to kind of have those as to kind of experiment with or kind of rule out. But when you're kind of left with nothing else, then you kind of face with the fact is it could be a ghost.
yeah. I
I
always I have to laugh at Tom because I think half the time I think he kind of wants to believe because
Yeah, it sounds
Occam's
like it.
razor, right? Once you've ruled out
Yeah.
everything else, then the most obvious is what it is, and like quit fighting it.
Yeah, I think he's too stubborn. I think he's far too stubborn for that. But I think he's on the losing side really because with if it's Jackie's side, she can say anything or within reason that she thinks it might be. Whereas with Tom, he's got to defend that by coming up with something which could be even more outlandish than a ghost. So it could be, I think I've heard on previous podcasts where people have said they saw a ghost because they went to the cinema and had moldy popcorn and that's what's caused and it's like it's the more worse and worse you get the it makes more sense for it to be a ghost because it's less outlandish really. So yeah, those kind of things are interesting, but I love the debate really that people have with the paranormal because it's not like with paranormal stuff you don't have to say you believe in everything because you can sort of take what you want. Like I believe in some things, I don't believe in other things, and it's not if I don't believe in something and you believe in that, that's completely fine. And I think especially in this day and age when we're kind of told that you must believe in this, therefore you are this, and this. I
Yeah.
think people can be flexible and kind of, if you don't believe in something and you do encounter something, it's okay to say, okay, I think I might be questioning myself now. I might be a believer, but sometimes people are too I think proud to kind of admit that they were wrong. So yeah, so sometimes it's easier to just lie, if that makes sense.
It's
Oh,
it's
I find that
it's an
interesting.
interesting, yeah, paradigm, right? It's just interesting how people will try so hard not to believe. It's I just find that fascinating. And
Yeah,
on the other hand, some people try really, really hard to believe in everything, and you just got to use your discretion at the same time. Because I always say, suspend your disbelief. It's
that's
not,
true.
that's the way I look at it. And I'm fascinated, Tom. Have you had more experiences since you've been sort of opening up to all these other experiences?
On a personal level, not since because I've had I experienced my sort of encounter maybe about I think it was 10 years ago where I saw I don't think I mentioned on this podcast previously where I saw some kind of figure down the canal
Yes.
not far from where I live, but since then I've not personally experienced anything, and I don't know whether because I sort of listen to people's stories a lot that I don't I'm not to say I'm sort of immune to it, but sometimes I probably I'm probably more interested in the people when they come up for those interviews and stuff about whether what they're going to say is make a great podcast and paranormal story. So I'm kind of interested in those type of things, but I've not really encountered anything recently. But yeah, I think I remember I said I might have seen a UFO, but I kind of did the diligence and did the research afterwards, and it was a light show that was from a concert in my area. But at the time you are very much like, I've never seen that thing before in my life where there's these beams of light are coming across and it looked like, like meteorites in synchronization falling, and I was like, what is that? But sometimes it's good to kind of take that pause, think about it, and then sort of do the research, and then kind of and then if you can't make that decision, then it's good to then kind of talk with people about it. But sometimes people go straight away online, it's a demon. I've seen this thing it reflecting from my light from my window. What is it? And it's like, well, use your eyes, use like your common sense sometimes. And I think sometimes people don't really do that online and stuff, which is a shame. But yeah, it's a weird one really. But I think it's how you personally deal with it. And I know sometimes people who have experienced like sort of sadness or like members of family dying and stuff, and they are looking for that answer. And I think that is completely fine as well. If you believe or you've seen something and you're like, okay, I think it's this, or this is my loved one coming back, then you are totally right to believe that. But I think people equally as well online, there's this a culture sometimes where people are very quick to disprove stuff, and
Oh yeah.
and sometimes it you make that sort of person's experience a lot worse because you take it personal and stuff like that. So at the same time, when people criticize or scrutinize stuff, they should really think about maybe taking a step back. So as you say, it's that paradigm of just using probably tact, I'd say, to kind of when you're kind of dealing with people's experiences.
Oh
True.
yeah. You just reminded me of one of the episodes, what was it called? The Blue Boy or Little Boy Blue or something.
Oh yes, yeah.
And and then Jackie's talking about it and because I love Jackie's spin. And it's like imaginary children, right? Like we've
Yeah.
all, I don't want to say we've all had that experience. Many people have had that experience. I have not actually. I've never had an imaginary friend was when I was little. Have you, Rhonda?
No, no, I had three sisters. I didn't need any imaginary friends. I needed to get away from them.
How, how about you, Tom? Have you had an imaginary friend?
No, I've always had an active imagination as a child, sort of playing with action figures or toys or whatever. But yeah, I've never had sort of an imaginary friend. But yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes you think, is there something in that then? If we all don't experience it, then could it be maybe something ghostly or paranormal? But again, it's one of those things that's up for discussion and debate really about, because I know like children can be lonely and they sort of can long to experience friends and stuff. So yeah, I think it's worth looking into really.
Oh no, you're sounding like a skeptic.
No, well, I think that's the thing of not to say that I've become cynical to some things, but even if I was a total skeptic or on some things,
Yeah.
I think it's good to have your own opinion, but sometimes again it's good to withhold that opinion at the sake of not wanting to hurt someone's feelings. I think it's end of the
Yeah.
day it's about having respect for people as well. That's
Oh,
the
I
main
It's
thing.
that,
agree.
like their experience is their experience, whatever the reason is, they experience that. Do you ever go out and actually kind of ground truth where you go, or are you ever compelled to go and see if you can experience similar at like a haunted location?
I would love to, yeah. The closest probably I've been to is when it was the Halloween special not last year, but from 2024, where me and my friend Carla, which is Tom's wife, because basically Tom's wife, I used to work with her at a company many years ago, so that's how I got to know Tom and stuff. So Carla's
Yeah.
sort of my sort of helper and kind of helps me with stuff really. But we went to interview. It doesn't really happen that often where we go to the location where the person is or person lives, because normally sometimes it's remote things, or people come to me, or we'll meet somewhere mutual because of distance and stuff like that. But we went to the nuclear bunker, which is called RAF Hat Green, and that place, I'm not gonna lie, was absolutely. I don't know. There's no way to describe it. There was something in the air and something down there, whether it was residual or spiritual, or I'm not quite sure, but I would not want to be left alone on a night that. Well, we went down. I think it was in the middle of May, so it's very sort of summery. It's lots of light, and then you close the blast doors. It's dark. You don't know what time of day it is, and you go down these steps, and these lights come on, and you walk around, and just being me, Carla, and the witness Bryony, just us three in the entire location, was just scary because you just know it's just there's only three people in this entire vicinity or building, and we walked around these closed exhibit sections, and one of them was like this meeting room, which the light switch is in a column right in the middle of the room. So you have to walk all the way into the dark to then sort of switch the light on. But this one room, it just felt very oppressive. And I don't know whether that's down to, again, it could be because we're underground and the electromagnetics, but I honestly don't believe it's all those skeptical things. There definitely has to be something something to it. But what it is, I don't know really.
That is it, yeah. And I remember what I love about your podcast is the soundscape, right? Because you
Oh,
have
thank
a
you.
way of building suspense. You have the music, the atmosphere. You can almost be there with the soundscape. It's so wonderful. That's probably why you're in the top 3%, because you've got an excellent soundscape on your podcast. But it's it's yeah, that was kind of like that show Alien, where you're going around the corners and you're waiting for something to
Yes.
jump out and scare you, because
Yeah.
it you can feel that tension like in everybody, through the airwaves, even, that everybody was just a little tense. It was crowded down there, even though you guys were just the three of you. Felt like that.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you for that. That's the probably the best compliment I can have, because the soundscaping is does take the most time to make, and also it's a lot of um editing and stuff, because for example, if someone is in a natural conversation, you will then edit their conversation to add pauses or add sort of breaks for when the sound effects come in, or when the crescendo of the music comes in, or you add heartbeat sound effects. So it you make a normal conversation into something even more compelling. So yeah, so it does take, I'm not going to lie, a long long amount of time, but I think it's worth it really.
Yeah, for sure. I just
I
enjoy.
will say at night it's scary.
Yeah, I listen
During
to
the
it at work
day,
when I need the buzz, but no, where it can help me have the buzz and wake up. I would not put it on at night. No, no.
I was listening to one of them at night and I was just like, this is a bad idea. Because all of a sudden, all the noises and the creaks of the house sounded 10 times louder. I was like, I need
Yes.
to stop. 7, 8 o'clock, I'm good. Because sometimes I can't sleep. So I'm like, I'm going to listen to a podcast. And it'll be like midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. I'll just put on a podcast. But it's not good to listen to a scary podcast at 2 in the morning.
No, well, especially if you've got a dog as well, and then your dog
They
becomes
bark.
or 10 times, or like imagine if you're in the dark and next minute you turn around and your dog is like there looking, because obviously if you're wearing headphones, you're all
Yeah.
surrounded by it, you were encased in its own environment, and then your dog appears, and yeah, it does make you more scary, I would say. Yeah, definitely.
I am curious. Have you ever been tempted to take Jackie on one of those locations and be like, Jackie, you gotta come. It's really haunted. Or no, like Jackie does her own thing. Like, do you
Uh,
ever pull all the other people and be like, you guys must go here?
yeah, I think because we've never sort of experimented, we've always stuck to the same sort of format. So I think
Yeah.
I would be looking for new ways of sort of shaking that format up eventually. So if we did go to a location, then it would be how we do it. But I think when our show is slightly different to maybe like the YouTuber
Yeah.
shows,
Yeah.
because what ours is about the people, and it's about their story and their experience. Whereas sometimes when you listen to like a YouTube podcast or one of those ones where they go to the location,
Ghost
uh,
hunters or whatever.
ghost
Yeah.
Yeah.
hunters and stuff, for them it's all about just getting the footage on camera, or getting the bleeps or the sound of or the not sound effects or the sound recordings. Oh my God, did you hear that? And nine
Yeah.
nine times out of 10 you have to have really good hearing, because you're like, it said the devil, and you're like you're kind of rewinding on your TiVo to kind of say it's did I again, did you say so sometimes those kind of shows, they are kind of and there's nothing wrong with kind of liking those shows, because
Yeah.
again it's like people want to
They're
experience
perfect.
it. They are,
Yeah.
they are, but I think they're probably more interesting if you are physically going on a ghost hunting session, because obviously you're there, you're living it, you're in the dark, you're
Yeah.
kind of walking around, and your heart's beating. But sometimes when you rewatch them, they're probably not as, you just want to get to the good bits. Like,
Yeah.
I want to fast forward and get to the good bits really. So sometimes, yeah, and it depends, like, because like ghosts are, they're not performing monkeys, are they? Like
No.
if you lived in the Grand Manor House and a minibus full of ghost hunters came, you would not be obliged to entertain them. So it's funny how these experiences happen to people who are just living their day-to-day lives. They're not looking for it. They're kind of working in an office. They're working or living in houses or working in a pub, and these sort of extraordinary things happen to them. And I kind of find those stories more exciting or more sort
Yeah.
of compelling sometimes. So,
And it's the people's reaction to them too that I
Yes.
find very, some are like terrified and others are like totally interested. You know what I mean? They're
yeah,
just,
yeah.
they're not like, oh, that's really interesting. And they've taken a different sort of look on it. Like that's my ghost. And yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah, it's like a people have again, horses for courses. They have their own sort of um appreciation or power of the paranormal, because like when you went talking about that case, Little Boy Blue, I went
Yeah.
to his house to interview him, but his wife didn't want to kind of entertain the fact that I was there. She went out with her son, and they were gone for an hour until they came back, and I was I was still there. But she didn't want to entertain the fact that the house could be haunted, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, you have to kind of have that sort of listen to all the facts and listen to all the evidence, and then you can then make your mind up and stuff and say, okay, I can be as skeptical as I want to be, but yeah, I think there is something about this place which is very, very creepy.
yeah. And sometimes acknowledging it's enough to ramp it up, and sometimes it will ramp it down because all they want to do is be noticed. But I have a feeling that sometimes we're afraid to acknowledge it because I see nothing like Sergeant Schultz on Hogan's Heroes. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
anything, I don't hear anything, I'm just
yeah.
ignoring it, just
That's
going
true.
on. So I understand that. And then I yeah, it's interesting way to be. Um Maria,
I
I
find
can't believe that you're nervous about when you go to so
I'm nervous about what?
I'm nervous when you're listening to Tom's
Oh
stories.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Because you have one episode the other night I was listening to. I can't even remember what it was. It was probably the police officer, maybe. But he was like, somebody's behind the curtain, then you see a finger, and then you see a face. And then I have like a picture, and then there's a mirror in my room, and I'm like, did I just see a face? What? Why? Did I just hear
Yes.
something? And I'm like, I have to stop. I can't do this. It's too creepy. It's too creepy. You know what's funny is I'm a medium, and I'm definitely never going to do paranormal investigations like Jackie for sure. I'm like scared of my own shadow. But I'm an excellent medium. But I ain't gonna go like even here in our city, it's huge for paranormal investigations, but everything has to happen at night, because it's got to be extra
Yes.
dark, extra creepy. And I have so many friends that go on the ghost walks, the ghost hunts, and I'm like, no, thank you. No, because in my mind, I'm like, what if it's real? What if it comes home with me? What if
Yes.
it touches
Yes.
me? What if it pulls my hair? I don't want to have that experience. I'm good listening. I don't need to have the lived spooky, scary experience, which is
Uh,
weird for a medium, but that's me. I don't know.
Do,
Are
do you
you like
like
that?
do you like horror films then or anything like that? Or
No, 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 no. My
No.
kids love it. No. Nope, no, no. I like action movies and
Oh, okay, yeah.
comedies.
And
I
I
love
listen to true
action.
crime, but
Yeah,
as my mother always said, there's more to be scared of the living than there is the dead. So,
That's
but
so
I do
true.
not like horror movies. I don't like those, like I said, like Alien, like that was the last one. Like that scared the heck out of me. But yeah, the horror movies, oh, like Poltergeist and those ones, nope, nope,
no.
nope,
I
nope,
No,
can't
no.
watch any of that.
nope.
So that just means your podcast is amazing. That's why it's in the
Yeah.
top 3% because the sound effects are so spooky. So I'm wondering so season two and it's episode one and you have Par Hall. So the pyramid and Par Hall. Did you
Oh,
go
yes.
in that? Did you
Yeah,
go in
well,
that building?
I went to just one of the press office kind of gave me a room, and then basically people just came in. I set a table up with a microphone, and people kind of came in, but I didn't kind of walk
Yeah.
around the at night and stuff. But yeah, it's yeah, that place was weird, weird because there's so much layers of history going on because this was a it was originally like an old courthouse, and then it became a sports hall, and so it's kind of
Yeah.
had all these kind of different layers of history on top of each other, and people are experiencing these very, very odd things. But yeah, but then two doors down is then with the Par Hall, which is like this old Victorian music hall, and yeah,
Yeah.
people have experienced even weirder things as well. So it's weird how you have certain pockets of towns or areas which they sort of retain that sort of link to the past, really.
Yeah, because isn't that because in there you talk with Hannah and she goes on the roof and then the shingles start to move or the roof starts to move. That scares me.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
doing up there in the dark.
Was she
But
climbing up like a ladder into the organ pit? And yeah, yeah. I don't think I could do that. I think I'm sort of afraid of heights, really. But yeah,
so some of the places that they talk about in the hall, were you allowed to go into that and see?
no, because I think that we're
Oh,
going for. It was. I think they're very sort of just just record the people and get out. It's that kind of it's that kind of thing, really. But yeah, as you said, it's when you go during the day, it's a total different vibe. But when you go on like a ghost hunt or walk around
yeah.
at night, then it's more sort of scary. So it's 3 times as scary, really. But yeah, I think I'd like to sort of revisit a place. I think I definitely want to revisit the Hat Green bunker. But again, with our stories, a lot of them are people's homes, and sometimes those people don't live in those homes anymore. So you have to kind of be very sort of um, respectful of the current people that live in those houses because you don't want to
Yeah.
kind of reveal the address or where those people live because they might be living in a house and they're just going their day-to-day lives, and next minute you knock on their door and say, "Oh, can I interview you about the ghost that lives here?" And what ghost? And then it's you can scare them. So I think it's been having that mutual respect of people's property sometimes. It's yeah, it was I think you just got to be wary of these things.
So out of all the interviews you've done, which one has really like spooked you? Has any of them spooked you?
I think definitely. I always hark back to episode one, which no, not episode one, series one, and it
Yeah.
was the two-parter, which is the Staffordshire, the Malmasonette, which is the I think you guys call them duplexes. So it was a duplex in above a barber shop in the middle of a housing estate in Stafford, and this couple moved in there and they experienced so many strange things, and it's just like a 1960s flat apartment really. It's there's nothing special about it, there's nothing spooky about it, but this couple experienced so many things. But also I found it chilling that the fact is they went to the hospital for a hospital appointment type checkup, and then the nurse looked at the notes and she said, "Oh, you live at number whatever whatever. Oh, is it
Yeah.
still haunted?" And they were like totally gobsmacked. But this summer just gone, I was trying to do a sort of a revisit there, but sometimes people can let you down and stuff like that. So I had like two people that lived two doors down from that exact address, which is the same sort of block of flats or a block of apartments, and they experience weird things as well. But you know what it's like when people let you down and stuff. So I think that's the whole thing sometimes of how these podcasts take so long to make is because you want to get someone, their story's got to be really good enough or good enough for to tell a half an hour story or cover a half an hour episode. And then also the fact is as well, when you then contact them again a few weeks later and then they ironically ghost you, it's you're like it's sometimes frustrating because then you've then got to find someone else then because you've got in your mind you've got all these episodes lined up. This one would be great, episode one, episode two, and then next minute someone ghosts you. Like there was another one which was a bakery nearby where I lived, and sometimes you go on Facebook for these stories and you just stumble across them. And this guy was a workman, I think a joiner or a builder, and he was went into his local bakery and he was queuing up in a line to go to the counter, and next minute he thought someone was walking up to him, so he moved out of the way. Oh, sorry, do you want to get past? And he looked over and there was no one there. And it would have made a great story because I then contacted the bakery owner and I was like, has stuff happened? And she's like, yes. But sometimes these things just fall through your hands, really. You know, because I think I don't know whether the people change their mind, that they might be sort of very, very sort of willing initially to kind of take part, but sometimes the fear takes hold of them and then they're like
Other
they've got
people
rep
say you don't want to do that because people are going to
yes.
think you're crazy or you're
Yes.
going to scare your customers away.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
that
So
people will be coming because they're curious, which we would all go because we were curious.
exactly. Imagine how many ghost cookies they could sell in this bakery if the story was out there. So yeah, I think it's sometimes I think I've learned since producing it that you are going to get disappointed sometimes because people are not willing to kind of take part. But then sometimes people surprise you and they tell that you a great story that you just kind of you stumble across a post on Facebook that's maybe 5 lines long. Oh my God, I lived in a haunted house, and you're like, you message them and then and like, really, what happened? And then you kind of go into it really. So, and sometimes you can get the greatest story ever told from this one thing that they've not told everyone. But when you then contact them, or kind of tell them, I'm going to tell you a story via recording, you have to reassure them that you're going to tell them the best story that you're going to tell, and also that you're not going to ridicule them or anything like that, really. So it's one of those things, really. It's all based on trust.
Yeah, it was great that that policeman came forward because he already has a reputation of, you know, he's not crazy, he's a policeman,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it's, but then he had to be pretty brave too at the same time because now he's that crazy ghost policeman. So, but it was a good story. And I remember my nephew who's a policeman on Peel region down your way, um, Maria, and he said people don't think the full moon affects people. They just have to be a policeman. And he says, and I that out of his mouth because he was always teasing me because I'm woo woo. And like I thought, oh, really? You think the moon? So I'd like to hear if he's had any weird encounters now that you've talked about that.
yeah, yeah,
So
totally, totally. Yeah, it's funny you mention that because we sort of take for granted those sort of elements like the moon because it can you get words like lunatic and it's some funny how the moon can kind of influence people, but what other influences or what other kind of unknowns are out there that we don't quite know about or we can't yet prove? It's yeah, I find that stuff fascinating, really.
I find the police officer fascinating because even in the podcast, when you're talking with Jackie, I don't know if you asked her the question, like, are cops just naturally more psychic?
Yes, yeah, I think that's what Jackie said. Yeah, she said
Yeah.
the policeman's hunch. I think that's what she said. And
Yeah.
to be fair, sometimes that could be true because you kind of watch like those like true crime documentaries where perchance they fall upon the serial killer by doing a check on their license plate or like or
Yeah.
something's not quite right and they kind of use they can't quite put their finger on it. So yeah,
yeah, it's their vibes, right? They're
yeah, the
getting
vibes. Yeah,
vibes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Vibe.
totally.
See, I think everybody's super psychic. Well, to a degree, but most people use it in their everyday lives. They just call it something different.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
hunch,
totally.
that intuition, that vibe, but even like because I was thinking of that policeman again, and he shares a story where he's chasing two people and he's got like the taser, and then they disappear into the wall.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yes.
did he find them? Like, where do they
Uh,
go?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of that ultimate locked room mystery that where are they going to go? Where are they going to disappear to? And also the fact is they're trained to draw their because in the UK only sort of certain police officers have guns. So in the UK most police officers have a taser. So they have
Yeah,
to have specific training to draw the taser, and they're not going to just draw it willy-nilly
No.
on anyone really. So, and also the
yeah,
fact is when they draw the taser, they have a special camera on the taser that kind of comes into effect as well. So to someone, he's had to then report that to someone to say basically in the taser handling room that what I drew my taser because I saw a ghost, and it's just so strange. It's just so strange.
I wonder if the ghosts look real. Because I'm going to share an experience I had this like over 20 years ago. This was early in the morning, Tom, and I am ironing because I'm nuts and I couldn't sleep. It's 5 in the morning. I'm in the basement ironing. And then I see what I believe were my two kids laughing. And then I look at them and I'm like, you two go to bed now. Like, you guys got to go to bed. And then I go to like walk closer to them and they run into the wall and disappear. So then I'm like, what just happened here? So then I run upstairs and they're each sound asleep in their bed. So when I was listening to that episode, because I forgot about that, that was like over 20 years ago, probably 25 years ago. And I'm like, what? What? But they look solid. So I'm
Oh
wondering to
wow.
your friend, those ghosts look solid, like real people, and then you just get close and then they go poof.
Yeah, yeah, that's so strange. But were they what did they look like your children then, or could you make
It
them out to
I
be?
thought I genuinely thought they were my kids. And then I yelled at them at 5 in the morning, "What are you doing up? Go back to bed. It's too early to be up playing," because they were
Oh
young.
wow.
And then as I got closer to them, they just looked at me, laughed, and went into a wall and disappeared. And then I was like,
Wow.
what just happened
Wow.
here? And then I ran up the stairs, like second story house, and I went in each of their bedrooms, and they're both sound asleep. But to me, they looked solid. So then I'm thinking, I wonder if those ghosts that we call ghosts, if they actually manifested in solid 3D, and that's why he pulled out his laser. Then he gets closer, and then they disappear into the wall. I
Yeah,
don't know why
yeah.
that happens, but I had that. But they weren't criminals. They were just, I think they were my kids. Like, I don't know. They look like my kids. They sounded like my kids, but they were solid. But then they disappeared into the wall. And like, I don't know how to explain that.
That's
I'm
so
sure a
strange.
lot of people have these experiences. Just nobody is talking about it. I will.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. I agree. I agree.
Have you had that? Have you seen spirit just like vanish into a wall?
Me?
Yeah. No?
No, but I've had spirit touch me
Yeah.
when I was at a different place. Yeah, at the middle of the night. And the weirdest thing was, I was staying over at a nature camp, and I felt this go down my arm, and I, I think something just touched me. And what we do, like we did when we were kids, we just put our sleeping bag over our head and roll around the other way, and just don't even worry about it. Go
Ooh.
back to sleep. Yeah. And I didn't know anything about this place was haunted until the next day we were at breakfast with the leader of the nature group. And he said, so he told us this, proceeded to tell us a little story about the home and how this one researcher was there, and she kept getting, and he just started touched on the arm, I said. And he says, oh, where did you sleep last night?
Oh my God. Ooh.
Apparently in the same bed. So yeah,
Wow. Wow, that's
that's
spooky.
that
Oh,
was a
that
little
is
spooky.
spooky.
Yeah. But
Well, you
my reaction was totally like, oh, it was spirit. I thought I'd freak out, but I didn't. That was the weirdest reaction I've ever had to something weird. So,
Wow.
yeah.
is it just
Oh,
because you were too tired?
I, you know, I was all by myself. There were people in the house, but I was all by myself in that room, and I just didn't. Yeah, it was just like, oh, there's nothing worried to worry about here. But yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
Not
Well,
like the
Tom,
one I'll tell you another one later on. But
oh,
yeah, that was a different one. That's when I woke up terrified. But yeah.
I'm curious because we're talking about like touching and stuff like this. You actually have an episode, it's called The Whistler. So sounds. That's got to be spooky. Like I would be
Yeah.
terrified if there's a ghost whistling around my house.
Yeah. This one was really odd. Him and his wife and I actually visited his house. They live in
Yeah.
it's a character house, so it's very small, but it's kind of they live on the ground floor, and where he said this whistling was coming from was a bedroom which was maybe I don't know, maybe 10 feet away from them. And normally in like a good sort of ghost cliche would be the fact is that it's next door or it's half a mile away that they could hear whistling. But this was so close to them that they had no explanation for what it could have been. And it was just a person doing like a warble whistle, which is like a happy whistling tune. And it just came out of nowhere. And it's just so strange.
So do you guys hear sounds? Have you any of you heard like random voices talk to you, call your names, whistle? I've never heard whistling.
Names and yeah, and other voices in this house times. And my husband said, oh, have you heard that too? He pretends he doesn't do any of this, but yeah, I've been hearing sort of like conversations, but I can't hear them. And our house is new. There's no reason there should be anything. Sometimes I think, it's a bright light and people wander through. But yeah,
Oh wow.
sometimes I'll wake up and who called my name? So yeah, it's interesting.
Do you get
That's
that,
pretty.
Tom? Do you get
Um
like any sounds too? Since they got the whistle, I'm curious if you get anything.
No, I've never had anything else. But yeah, I think if I heard someone whistling, I would be.
That would freak me out.
It would freak me out, especially because it's inside the house. Maybe if you had builders during the day and the windows are all open, that's a different story. But when it's at night and it's just you and your house alone, then yeah, that is just very disturbing. But that story also featured another strange sort of scenario where he had a toy in the attic that was making a noise as well. Like it was like I think we all thought assumed it was an electronic toy that was kind of playing and kind of making these noises all the time. It was like a nursery rhyme type, one of those nursery rhyme type toys, but it transpires it was one of these Fisher Price records that you need to physically wind up to play. And I totally get that if you wind the record up, it might sort of go off occasionally, but for it to just go off randomly for a period of 3 months and go different speeds and stuff like that, it's just very
Yeah, I know
strange.
I'm getting the creepies.
You know what I will say? Because I'm going to do a shout out to Eli. Thank you, Eli. Because I'm not a big history person, but throughout all of season 2, I had to go Google everything because in that episode, isn't it like lullaby songs or something? Because I'd never heard of the artist that you guys were talking about. So I had to go Google it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I know this.
Oh, is it Bobby Shafto? I think it
Yes,
was.
yes, yes.
I've never heard of it either. Never heard of it
I had to
either.
go
I had to
Google
Google
it. I was like, what's he talking about? He's like, Google. He says that a lot. Go Google it. And I was like, I gotta go Google.
it.
I gotta see what he's talking about because then all of a sudden I needed the visual. I needed the visual behind everything else. But that was interesting. And then you have another episode because I know like I love talking to you, but I want to talk to you about one last episode. And that's like the airplanes where somebody sees like Christmas lights in the air or something. I Googled that
Oh,
too. I Googled that. I found pictures. It's on the
yeah.
internet.
This was a case. It all revolves around the closest international airport to us, Manchester, and there was a case where pilots were flying back from I think Milan to Manchester, and they were on approach to kind of fly into the runway, and this object sort of bypassed them, and they said it looked like a Christmas tree,
Yeah.
and Eli kind of uncovered all this history about Christmas tree UFO sightings and seen around the world. And then I kind of asked the UFO guy, have there been any more sightings of Christmas trees? And he says, well, actually, there have been. And he kind of mentioned two cases where uh, probably within about 5 miles of the airport,
Yeah.
probably about maybe 5 years ago, two other people experienced strange things. And these were like Christmas trees that normally the cliche UFO would be it would be sort of landscape and it would be floating and then you could see the lights on underneath it. But this was floating upwards and floating like that. And if that, how on earth could any known craft fly like that for
Yeah,
dynamics
that
and
doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It goes against the rules of gravity and aeronautics and all that kind of stuff, really. So, yeah, I find that kind of stuff really interesting because I think sometimes with paranormal podcasts, people always say, "Oh, I don't like the UFO episodes. Oh, I only like the ghost ones." And sometimes you've got to that's a challenge. Then you've got to kind of say, "Okay, I'm gonna make sure that you're gonna like this episode. I'm gonna change your opinion of UFOs or this or that." So I think that's what the beauty of the podcast really is you can it can be whatever you want it to be, but I think ghosts are always going to be what our bread and butter. But I think there are
Yeah.
some weird things out there that you can't quite put into a category, even if it's a ghost or a
A black
or
cat, or the black
exact.
cats that are running down
Yeah,
the big
exactly.
giant black cats in the UK.
Well,
Tom, oh yeah, go ahead. No, sorry.
I was just going to say we've got some for series 3. We've got some weird, very strange stuff coming up.
That's what I wanted to ask you about with
Oh,
series
okay.
three. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
see, you're
Uh,
psychic. Yeah. So, yeah, tell us about series three. Give us a little sneak peek because your trailer just doesn't give enough. That's all I can
oh,
say.
yeah. So we've got some stories from around the world this time, all Europe. So we've got a lady who now lives in Wales, but she grew up in Sweden, and she lived in this very scary farmhouse. So that's going to be our Halloween special. So that's going to be several months ahead. But we've then got this episode coming out in May, which is called The Bedfordshire Blue Man. So basically, that's about this case where Alex, who's now in his late 60s, experienced something with several school friends one lunchtime on a school break, and he saw this small blue man in what he described was like wearing a spacesuit, and it was like like 5 foot tall or 4 foot tall, and they all saw this thing appear, and they had no explanation about what it could have been, and that kind of stuff is very exciting because on that episode we've got a lady called Nat Doig who's going to be our guest panelist for that episode because she has a podcast called Word in the Wade, which is on the BBC and it's won quite a lot of awards. So it's just a privilege to kind of have her as like as a guest on that episode. So yeah, it's talking about strange to us. I think it gets put into that kind of alien sort of pigeonhole, but could it be maybe that it could be a something like a elf or I don't know whatever like and I think when you talk about things like elves and fairies and stuff like that, that's stuff that I don't really have much sort of knowledge of. So yeah, but it's always good to have that sort of healthy debate, really. But yeah, we've also got some very sort of classic ghost stories. So we've got a ghost story set in a holiday home in France, which is very scary indeed, and also one set in like a 500-year-old pub called the Old King's Head, and this couple kind of bought it at a reduced price, but obviously they bought it at a reduced price for a very good reason. So yeah,
Oh,
I can't wait to share those. So, but I'm going to be doing the episodes monthly. So because I think last year I burnt myself out because I was doing episodes every week in a 10-week block, and
that's
then it's very tiring. I was knackered at the end of the day, so I think it's good
yeah. I mean,
to
we do our show live, and I don't edit, and that's enough. Even when we do it every
okay.
week, it's hard enough. So I can't imagine all the editing. Like I know Maria edits too, and I just say, wow, that's way too much for me. So yeah,
Me
not
too.
so I just go with the authentic stuff. But no, that's awesome. Like, yeah, I can understand. They're just such high quality episodes that yeah, they're worth the wait, I think. It's nice to stretch it out
Oh,
that way.
I agree 100%. So before we go, Tom, I always like to ask my guests this. So for somebody that is brand new and they're listening to you and they're like, wow, Tom's really cool and he's in the paranormal space and all of that, what would you suggest that they do? Like if they want to do like a podcast like you or be like a mini me of you and
Oh
interested in all
wow.
of that. And they want to get into the whole paranormal thing, but they're kind of like, I don't know, how do you start?
I think start off with what you know. Start off local.
Oh, I love
I started off with a pub, which is just like a mile away from where I live. It's my local pub, and that's kind of got me interested in. And also the fact is, just because you might live in an area that you think doesn't have a lot of history going about it, if you dig a bit deeper, you might have those really great stories, historical stories as well, that might be so interesting. And I think you've just got to find your niche. Like I think we, as a podcast, not say criticize, but we're always said to be the podcast Uncanny is very much like we take after that, but I kind of disagree on that note because we're more historical. There are certain traits that you have with paranormal podcasts. It's like you have the witness, you have the storytelling, you have the skeptic, you have the spiritual expert, but we have the historian as well. So, and I think there's only so many times you can tell a paranormal story, have a podcast, but it's the people that make it come alive, really. So, I'd recommend finding those people who are local to you, who are characters who just have great stories to tell, and you will find them. And I think they might be very reluctant initially, but once you find them, people will start coming to you, which is, or is it they say, field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. So yeah, if you start a podcast, they will come to you. So yeah, it's one of those things, really.
It's
Oh, I
sweet.
like that. And Rhonda, any last words before we go?
No, this has just been wonderful, and I can't wait to listen to your new because you're in my library and you're just waiting for the next stories to come. So
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant. Thank
it's
you.
great.
Thank you.
Great.
Yes. And I want to say thank you so much, Tom, for taking this time out to be with myself and Rhonda. We had so much fun. And for everybody else listening, look at the show notes. All the links to all of his stuff is going to be there. Don't forget to give the show a follow. And we are excited about the next season. So thank
Yeah.
you so much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.